In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, I'd like to show you how you can mimic the title sequence that appeared in the Hollywood film Alien. In that opening sequence, the word alien came in as fragments in one color and then shifted to white. This comes as a request of one of my subscribers. So what I'd like to ask you to do is watch the following segment, and then we're going to show you some techniques of how to build this yourself. The first thing I had to do was I had to take the word alien and turn it into a graphic and then break it into pieces. I actually did this with PhotoDirector. So if you want to see a little bit about doing that and you own PhotoDirector, that will be at the end of this tutorial. But what I wound up was 13 pieces of the word alien in blue because it starts in blue, and then 13 identical pieces that are white. These are in the media room here. For example, if I click on this one here, there's part of the letter A in blue, the B1. If I go to W1, there's the same thing in white. B2 is part of the word alien in blue, and then W2 is the same thing in white. So I have 13 in one color and 13 in the other. I took them, let's show you the overall structure here, and I laid them together on the tracks. We start out with this blue over here. Maybe I should give us a little more room so you can see up here. There's the blue. And then I transitioned over to the white one. I kept that on the track for the duration of the intro. And then we went to blue 2, which is another letter, this one here. And then that transitioned to white. And so on throughout the entire sequence. Now let me show you a little bit about building it from scratch. Let's pretend we're working over here, and I'll give a little more room. Let's take my blue, the first segment that I made in PhotoDirector, and put it here. Now I'll take the same thing in white and put it next to it. Now if we play this, we'll see it starts out with that part of the letter A, and then it transforms into white. What I noticed in the film is that it was a little more sophisticated than that. So I'm going to go to my transition room, take the general fade and put it between these two. And again, I need to make the second track as long as the duration of my introduction here. So in this case, when I play it, it's going to fade from blue to white, which is what I think reflects the movie. And then I go over as far as I want in this particular example. Let's take the next one. I'll take B2 and drop it down here. And then I'm going to take my corresponding one, white 2, which I called W2. And again, we make the duration fit. I'll drag my fade down again. We'll just do one more. Let's go back to our media room. Let's go blue 3. And then we'll go W3, which should be the same fragment of the character. And we'll add that same transition in. I'm not worried about the background or the music in this case. So when we play it, there's part of our first letter changing to white, part of our second letter changing to white, part of the third letter we're going to show on the screen. I believe that's the N showing and moving to white. So that's the simple technique. Now the hard part about this, the time-consuming part, is to create all these fragments. So if you're interested in using that in PhotoDirector, I'm going to show you how to do that. I switched over to PhotoDirector 365. And in PhotoDirector 365, I'm using a layer for my initial track and for everything else that I'm copying out of it. So this is my initial one. I just simply called it Alien White. So I take this white and I typed in the words using the text tool in PhotoDirector. But I can't keep it text. I want it to transform it into a graphic. So I save this as Alien White with all the characters, and now I'm going to create a copy of that layer. To create a copy, I highlight it, and I can right-click on it, and I can say Duplicate. It will create a white copy. Now I have to make sure I turn off the original one. We're going to pretend we're going to do just one of these letters in this example. Instead of white copy, I would call this something else. So I press my F2 function key, and I'm going to call it white number 1. So this will be the first fragment I want to use. With it highlighted, I move to the left side, and I'm going to do some cropping of it. Select the area tool, and when I click over here, it says the layer must be converted to an image before proceeding. Do you want to convert it? That's exactly what I want to do. I'm going to click on OK. Now it's an image. Now what I want to do is erase everything that I don't want as part of this word alien. And so I'm going to take my brush tool, click on that one. Let's make it big. And in this case, let's start out with, say, part of the L in the middle. So I'm going to delete all of this, press the delete key on the keyboard, and then I'm going to take part of the L away. Now, to edit precisely, you have to change the fit. I'm going to click on Fit at the top. I'll start out with 100%, and then I'm going to click on the Hand tool. I'll press Escape here, click on the Hand tool, and we're going to move it to the center of the screen. I'm going to increase it maybe to 300%. I'm going to move it again, 400%. Now, how do you make something straight with a curve that's round? When you magnify it enough, let's go all the way up to 800, you can actually draw a straight line with this circle. So what I'm going to do is make it slightly smaller. And you notice on the left side, if I'm very careful, I can draw something that is straight up and down. Press delete. I'll go back to my fit. And now I have that white part of my character, which would maybe be the first one I want to show on the screen. Now with that saved, what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on that one and duplicate the white one. And I have a white copy. Again, I have to turn off the original and have to rename this with the F2 key. I will call this blue number 1. Okay, so I make sure they match in terms of names. And how do I change this to blue? All I need to do is click on my selection key. It selects it. Then I'm going to click on my paint can for colors. And color right now is set to blue. If I wanted it something else, I would set it down here. If I wanted it a different shade of blue, I would make it a custom color and use that. So I would only have to select it once. So I'm going to click on that. I know it's blue. I'm going to click on my paint can again and do an eyedrop. And there I have my blue number 1. To go back to the next one, I have to kind of remember what parts I've used. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go back to my main white with all the words. And then let's take just this I here and use that one. So I'm going to copy that again. Duplicate the layer. Turn off my original. Okay, we'll call this F2, we'll call this white number 2, and we're going to edit it again. We go back into our selection tool. We'll click here. It's going to make this an image, just what I want. And we'll take everything out except for the letter I. And press the delete key. So I have my white 2. I have to copy that again. Right click, duplicate, turn off the original one I messed with, and then press the F2. We'll call this blue 2. Take off the word copy. We don't need that. Click OK. We'll select it. Go to our color selector with the paint can, still set to blue. Do the eyedropper. So now I've just done 2 of the 13 pieces I will need in order to use these. And then when I'm done, what I want to do is I want to take each of these. Let's say we're going to use this one. This is blue 2. And then I'm going to save it as a PNG. File. Save as. Okay, I'll just call it blue 2. I'm going to save it here. And then what I'm going to do is change it, turn that off. I'll take my white tool and do a file save as. Call this white 2. I did this at the very end. So now I have a separate PNG for each of these. And so you turn off the tracks until you find the ones you want. And then you save each of them as a separate PNG that you bring into PowerDirector. It's a little bit complicated, somewhat time-consuming, but it can be very rewarding in the end if you want to take any title that you ever find or ever want to use in PowerDirector, break it up into graphic segments, and then have them come together on the screen in any way you see fit.